Okay, hi. What a night. I think you've been seeing some of the big headlines about the big raid on P. Diddy's 2 homes. Tonight, I have big, new, exclusive, blockbuster information. And that is that they always intended for Diddy to be there. It wasn't about waiting for him to board a jet and leave so that they'd have free reign in those mansions. No, they wanted to find him either in LA on the left or Miami on the right. They wanted to find Diddy. The reason they wanted to find him, because they wanted to find his phone or whatever else he had on his person, whatever electronics, pictures, emails, texts, WhatsApp, data, anything he had on his person. The feds wanted it. This is exclusive information coming into the Banfield show from a source close to law enforcement, very knowledgeable about this. Same source telling us, if you recognize this blueprint, if you recognize this pattern, you are not alone and you are very smart, because this is the blueprint that prosecutors used to bring down R. Kelly. Holy cow. Holy cow. What it means is they had the civil lawsuits, 5 of them at least, with complaining witnesses who said all sorts of things have happened to them at the hands of P. Diddy. Allegations, all of them. Only civil. And many of them covered by those pesky non-disclosure agreements. We hear about them all the time. Can't talk. He paid me off. Until the cops come calling. Because there is one group of people where NDAs do not matter. And that would be the feds. That would be the cops. Because if the cops ask you those questions, they do not care if you signed a document and got a paycheck. They do not care about non-disclosure agreements, and you are not allowed to stay quiet. And that is what the feds are following. The blueprint on how they brought R. Kelly down. Civil lawsuits, complaining witnesses, non-disclosure agreements, feds do the interviews, boom, the indictment. All of the next hour, we're going to get a whole lot of exclusive information. And DJ Vlad, the creator and CEO of Vlad TV, I call him the human Wikipedia of the hip-hop world. This guy knows more about every one of the hip-hop artists at Bad Boy Records, people who knew Diddy. He's interviewed Diddy. What does he know about what's happening now? And what is the next shoe to drop? Because there were a lot of shoes left behind in that messy raid. We've got pictures of the mess they left behind. That's all coming next. And then also, I will bet that when she was writing in her diary, she never for a moment thought it would be read on national television. I bet when she was writing in her diary, maybe she didn't think what she was doing was criminal. Maybe when she wrote in her diary about her minor children, ages 9 and 12, being beaten and tortured for God, she never for a moment thought it would be evidence in the criminal indictment, conviction, and sentencing against her. But that is Ruby Frank's diary. And yes, Ruby, I am reading it on television tonight. They're her own words. She chronicles the kind of torture, the blueprint for her torture. You're going to hear about it all coming up in just a moment. First, though, tonight we know what the Department of Homeland Security had hoped to find with those heavy-handed raids on Sean Diddy Combs' mansions in LA and Miami. They hoped to find Diddy himself. Diddy, they wanted him, along with his electronic trail. Not necessarily to arrest. They wanted the evidence. A source close to the investigation has told our show that the feds were hoping that Sean Combs would actually be there when they stormed either one of those properties. They wanted to seize any electronics that he might have had on his actual person, like a phone, maybe pictures, any kind of communications. Typically, you know this. You're a true crime fan. You're watching this show. Typically, raids like this would happen in the pre-dawn hours. That is always when it happens, and it makes for crappy pictures because it's dark. But our sources have told us that the feds moved up the time of this raid, this tandem raid. They wanted to improve their chances of actually getting their hands on Diddy himself, because they had apparently heard reports that Diddy had plans to leave the country. Let me repeat that. They had reports that Diddy had planned to leave the country. And of course, they know he has access to private jets, plural. But when they stormed those 2 homes in simultaneous raids, Sean Combs wasn't present at either location. We're told by sources that the warrant that they secured allowed them to search and seize any electronic devices, including phones, tablets, computers, and any other items that might hold data. You got to have a shopping list when you get a warrant. You can't just go in and take anything. And that was what was on the shopping list. That list I just gave you, that was the shopping list. Phones, laptops, tablets, computers, and any other items that may hold data. In a moment, we've got more exclusive information from our source on how the authorities have planned to mirror the prosecution of R. Kelly in going after Sean Diddy Combs in the way that they have. But first, brand new video you have to see of the holy hell that was unleashed in that beautiful home. This was the LA home, Diddy's LA mansion. This is acquired by TMZ. You can see the agents went through like everything. Diddy's safes, plural, actually lots of them, all through the cupboards, the nightstands, the desk drawers, the closet. And as you can also see, they weren't so worried about neatness. It's kind of weird with the stuffed animal there, but neatness not a concern in this raid. Clothing, documents, personal items, bathroom items, lots of raids in the bathrooms, lots of bathrooms, shambles, a lot of it. Shoe collections in closets, all over the place. Like, when I say shoe collections, multiple closets. By the way, they're really, really nice. Huge walk-in closets. One of them has women's clothes and men's clothes, it appears. This is a bedroom suite. I was like so fascinated. It's like a giant living room with a bedroom. Almost looks like a hotel. This is one of the walk-in closets. It is jammed. And you can see they went through everything. And in one of the rooms, actually, a door frame is ripped off the wall as if the door actually had to be knocked down. It is still not clear whether Sean Combs was living in this house at the time of the raid or the Miami house. We don't know. Nor do we tonight at 10:07 p.m. Eastern Time know where he is. It's kind of crazy. We do not know where he is. We do know this. He was spotted at a private airport in Miami yesterday. That was about 3 p.m. Eastern Time. He had his phone in his hand. This is video that was also acquired by TMZ. Wow. TMZ has been so out front on this story. They have just been, wow. They've been getting so much info. By the way, I wanted to make mention of something I saw. Can we go back to the video? I hate to do this to my control room, but this is breaking news. The video of the mess that was left behind in the raid in LA, in one of the images, we might have gone by it really quickly. So, of course, this is like all the electronics. I'm always fascinated by all the small stuff and the stuff you might miss. Keep your eyes on this video for the Grammys, because there are 3 Grammys and a couple of other awards as well, amidst all the shambles. It's coming up soon. It'll be on one of the counters, and it's crazy because you think, my God, yeah, this is Diddy, man. Like, this is a big deal. This is, I believe, and Cuomo said it earlier, the biggest kahuna who would have been brought down in a raid like this. Now, I want to be really clear. Brought down is all relative. They raided his homes. They spoke with him. They did not arrest him. They did not arrest him. Keep your eyes. I know it's coming up, but when I saw the Grammys, I'm just like, holy Dinah. They're right there. Like, and it doesn't look like they're budged. Like, they didn't get pushed around or moved. They're not broken, thank God, because that would have been probably pretty upsetting. Anyway, keep your eyes on these as I continue. Here's what we know. He was in an airport in Miami. And we'll see if we can just make sure we get the pictures of the, if it's not in this string, we usually call these strings, we'll pop another string up, because that to me was one of the things that really stood out. Look, prurience, maybe that's the only reason, because this is a mess of a raid, right? This is a mess. I don't know what it looked like beforehand, but I'm just going to venture a guess that people who are rich like this don't often live like this. So I think this is the remnants of the raid. Safes open. There, look at that. Look at that. Everything's pretty neat and tidy up there. I hope those guys gave a moment to appreciate, wow, this guy is really an incredible artist. And he is storied. And I don't even think that's even half of it, right? The awards that Diddy's got, that's not even half of it. Man. So I want to go back to Miami, right? 3:00 yesterday. He's in Miami. He's at a private airport. He's got his phone in his hand. He does what I do when I'm talking on the phone. I pace. And I look like I'm talking to myself. And that's kind of what it looked like. I don't know if he was talking on the phone or not, but he was pacing slowly outside the airport. Later in the day, his private jet, it's called the Love Air LLC Gulfstream 5. Very nice, by the way. It landed in Antigua in the Caribbean. But it didn't take off from Miami. This was where I got confused yesterday. It actually took off from Southern California. There is no word who was on the jet. There's that picture of him sort of pacing slowly. So it's not that he was on the jet necessarily in Miami. That jet of his, the Gulfstream 5, took off from Southern California. And another new development, about an hour after this video was taken of Combs walking outside that Miami airport, a man who is being accused of being his drug mule, this guy, was arrested at that private airport. He was attempting to board another private plane. And we're told that other private plane is also owned by Diddy. That was intercepted by authorities. The plane was also reportedly, again, owned by Combs. But this guy, alleged drug mule, is Brendan Paul, reportedly admitted to having cocaine and weed in his luggage when he was stopped by the Miami-Dade police. Whether he was traveling with Combs, don't know. And we also don't know where that second plane was headed. But to be clear, Sean Combs' lawyers are quick to point out he has not been charged with any crimes. He has not been arrested. He has not been detained. We don't even think he's been questioned, although there's some talk that they did talk to him yesterday, or that he talked to authorities. His lawyers say he has been cooperative with the authorities. So as far as anybody knows at this point, we don't know. He has, however, been accused of sexual abuse in no fewer than 5 civil lawsuits just since last November. The first 4 were filed by women accusing the hip-hop mogul of rape and trafficking and, quote, revenge porn. Combs settled at least one of those lawsuits, within 24 hours. The latest lawsuit, though, came last month from Diddy's former videographer, Rodney Lil Rod Jones. And Jones accuses Combs of sexual assault and leading a, quote, widespread and dangerous criminal sex trafficking organization. And that's language that's specific, because phrases like that are common in federal racketeering cases, like R. Kelly's. And as promised, I'm going to dig into that in just a minute. First, though, I want to bring in Ollie Coleman. He is the deputy editor of Page 6 at the New York Post. He is out front on this story as well. So big question, where's Diddy? Ollie, where is Diddy tonight?
You seem to know about as much as we do, Ashleigh, at the moment. As you say, he seems to be, in touch with his lawyers. But aside from that, he's... either in I suspect he's somewhere on the East Coast, but they're keeping his whereabouts pretty close to their chest.
So what I always love about the internet and hate about it at the same time, and if you're a privacy guru, you're not going to like this. We can track people's planes. There's a kid who's got a website that tracks celebrities' planes. He's been sued by all of them. What's the story on Diddy's plane?
So as much as you can track those things, you can also, if you go to some trouble and black yourself out of them. So on this occasion, his plane sort of disappeared, been gone private, as it were. So that's not much of a clue right now.
So how do you go private? Can the owner of the plane, because I know that, lots of celebrities have tried to keep their flight path private, and it doesn't always work. But can you, if you're the owner of the plane, can you do something about that? Can you get off FlightAware?
Yeah, I mean, my pilot usually takes care of that for me, so I don't know. It's not something I handle on my own. But no, I think it's it's something. Clearly, you cannot do it over a prolonged period of time, or as you say, everybody would do it all the time. But yeah, in instances like this, it's possible to be removed from it.
But the word is that the owner made the request to be removed from FlightAware. I find that super fascinating. I got to ask you also about this tweet from 50 Cent today. I follow 50 Cent. I usually see stuff about liquor and women and all the rest, but today it was very, very specific. And it speaks to what, the voices that have not come out in support of Diddy. Quite the opposite. This is what 50 Cent tweeted. Now it's not Diddy do it, it's Diddy done. They don't come like that unless they got a case. What else are we seeing about people in the entertainment industry, the hip-hop industry, people who came to his defense many times before? Is that happening now?
Yeah, I mean, 50 Cent's a slightly unusual case. I mean, he and Diddy have a long history, on and off friendship, rivalry. And I actually broke a story right after the lawsuit started coming out in November, saying that 50 Cent he has a pretty major production company, and he was producing a documentary on this subject. But yeah, I mean, I think that you know, we've seen with so many powerful people, you know, once the cracks start to show, at some point, a lot of people want to make sure that they're kind of on the right side of the story, right? So, you know, for a long time, the sensible thing to do would be to support Diddy. He's a powerful man. He has a lot of people's careers riding on his say-so, you know, and then at some point, the sensible thing is to say, oh, well, you know, of course, I always, you know, had my doubts about him. And we saw that with, you know, think about Meryl Streep with Harvey Weinstein, right? You know, one minute he's God, and the next minute he's like, oh, well, I'd always heard. And, you know, there comes a time, I always have my suspicions.
There comes a time when lots of people pull the lever and they jump ship before they or their brands go down with that ship. I'm not saying that's happening here, but Ashleigh Coleman, thank you for taking the time tonight to jump in on this breaking news. I really appreciate it. I'm going to call you again.
Anytime. Thank you.
I just want to read something here as well, folks. This is what P. Diddy's lawyer sent out a little earlier on today. His name's Aaron Dyer. And this is just a part of the statement. He said, there is no excuse for the excessive show of force and hostility exhibited by authorities or the way his children and employees were treated. Mr. Combs was never detained, but spoke to and cooperated with the authorities. I think that's really important because, you know, also tonight we have learned that the P. Diddy case is being modeled on the investigation that brought down music superstar R. Kelly almost 2 years ago. And in that case, the federal government used allegations that were made in civil lawsuits against R. Kelly to bring criminal charges. Nadia Shihata was one of the prosecutors who got R. Kelly convicted of sex trafficking. She's now a defense attorney and happens to be here with me live. Nadia, thank you so much for stepping in. So first of all, your reaction to the news you're seeing, to the two raids, all of the material that I've just provided prior to you coming on, and the news that the feds are modeling this case after your case.
Yeah, I mean, it's big news. Obviously, taking an overt step in an investigation of searching two homes means the investigation is well underway here. They clearly have probable cause to believe a federal crime has been committed and that evidence of that crime or multiple crimes would be found in the two locations that they searched. So this is big news. And if I'm P. Diddy, or his lawyers, I'd be very concerned at this point.
The biggest concern, as I understand it, and check me if I'm wrong here, is that when people sign non-disclosure agreements, as may have happened in P. Diddy's world, and in big celebrities' world, it happens all the time. That's that, right? Doesn't matter if you file a civil lawsuit. But when the feds come knocking, NDAs mean nothing. Is that what you found in the prosecution of R. Kelly? All of these lawsuits and these accusers or people who may have been covered by NDAs, the floodgates were open and they could tell you everything. AKA, is that possibly happening here?
That may well be happening here. An NDA, when push comes to shove, is not going to trump a grand jury subpoena or a federal agent or prosecutor asking you questions, but I wouldn't say that they have no effect. NDAs can make people very reluctant and hesitant to speak to law enforcement. So if it's someone that law enforcement is not already aware of, they may be wary to, themselves contact law enforcement to provide information. And so they can still deter people in that sense.
But once they know they're safe, they can speak, which I think is always, well, it's a concern if you're the target. And we are told that Diddy is indeed the target of this investigation. Nadia Shihata, thank you so much for being on. I'll call you again.
Thank you.
All right. So coming up, a man who may know more than anybody else about the trouble that Sean Diddy Combs is facing, DJ Vlad. That man has built a media empire interviewing the biggest names in hip hop, including Sean Puffy Combs P. Diddy. He has heard the whispers that now are being spelled out in court papers, and I'm going to ask him what else he knows, what else he's hearing, and what hasn't come out yet after the break.
Antenna TV presents the Sunday Special. Watch back-to-back episodes of your favorite classic television sitcoms.
Yeah, it's gonna be a real barn burner.
This month, Alice.
That's fantastic.
Order up the Sunday Special at Mel's Diner as Alice serves an extra helping of laughs. April 14th from 7 to 7. The Sunday Special. Go to antennatv.tv to check your local listings.
Crypto Fits, crypto breaking news.
Brought to you by ReadingBitcoinCenter.com as we dive into some crypto lingo. Quantum computing, a computer science field that uses principles of quantum physics to process much larger data sets at much greater speeds than traditional computing methods. R, regulated, a market in which players must follow certain rules or risk fines and or the loss of their operating licenses. S, Satoshi Nakamoto, the pseudonym for whoever penned the original Bitcoin white paper. Satoshi, the smallest unit in Bitcoin. For example, 1 Satoshi is equivalent to 0.00000001 BTC, a fraction of a penny, 100 million Satoshis in a Bitcoin.
Follow the latest in crypto and NFT news at CryptoFits.io.
This is The Making of America from the Jefferson Media Group. He was born in an obscure section of Chicago on the 5th of December in 1901, but he would live a life that would change the whole world for the better. He holds the record for the number of Oscar nominations, as well as the number of Oscar awards won by any single individual. He built a multi-billion-dollar empire that stretches around the world, and he did so on the shoulders of a tiny little mouse named Mickey. Walter Elias Disney built the best of both worlds. He became fabulously wealthy, and he did so by making people happy. This has been The Making of America. I'm Michael Emerson, and you can visit us at jeffersonmediagroup.com.
You're listening to NewsNation. To get America's fastest growing cable news network on your screen, go to joinnn.com.
Following in the footsteps of companies like Walmart and Amazon, DoorDash is the latest company testing drone deliveries in the U.S. To test the concept, DoorDash has partnered with Wing and will make drone deliveries from a Wendy's in a rural Virginia community. Not only is insurance getting more expensive, it's harder to find. State Farm, California's largest home insurance company, says it will discontinue coverage for 72,000 homes and apartment policies in the state starting this summer. The company blames inflation and regulations. Nestle USA is recalling about 440,000 metallic mugs included in 2023 holiday Starbucks branded gift sets. The mugs can overheat or break if microwaved or filled with extremely hot liquid, posing burn and laceration hazards. I'm Mark Huffman. Learn more at consumeraffairs.com.
Substance use disorder and addiction is so isolating. And so, as a Black woman in recovery, hope must be loud. It grows louder when you ask for help and you're vulnerable. It is the thread that lets you know that no matter what happens, you will be okay.
When we learn the power of hope, recovery is possible. Find out how at startwithhope.com. Brought to you by the National Council for Mental Wellbeing, Shatterproof, and the Ad Council.
I put in a phone call to Benjamin Braffman today. He is an incredible attorney. I wanted to ask him some questions about Diddy because he represented Diddy for years. I figured he still did. He actually put out a statement about one of Diddy's lawsuits against, one of the 5 anyway. And I got a very short reply from Ben today. I no longer represent Sean Combs. Okay, well, I asked how long ago did you separate from him? And he said just over a week. And so when I pushed further, Like, did you drop him? And if so, was it because of all of this stuff today? He said, we parted ways. And I tried to push whether this was related, and he wouldn't go there. But I will say this. Now there's a new lawyer for Diddy named Aaron Dyer, who says that the federal raids on those houses in Los Angeles and Miami were a rush to judgment, and that the raids were a coordinated effort for maximum media coverage, that the press was tipped off in advance. They had their choppers ready to go. There are a lot of people, though, who live and work in the hip-hop world who are also wondering aloud what took so long for this to happen. Is Sean Combs' lifestyle, including serious allegations of rape and violence and sex trafficking, are they the world's worst kept secret in hip-hop? Again, allegations. He is not charged. I want to play for you a few key moments, though, from some very, very big names in the entertainment industry, and see whether you can pick up any clues as to behaviors that are being alleged in at least 5 lawsuits against Sean Combs. And this one starts with Kanye West, who straight up calls Diddy a federal informant.
Daddy, whoever, none of these, all you fake hard, you. Wait, hold on. Okay. All you fake hard, you. You know what I'm saying? Because you can't shoot nobody anyway, and the reason why you got to talk is because you did a deal, you fed. You know what I'm saying? That's why you got to come at me, because part of the deal for you to be a do all that, and get out of jail is that you promise that you're going to go pull my co-car.
Justin, you ever seen the movie 48 Hours? Right now, he's having 48 hours with Diddy, him and his boy. They're having the times of their lives, like you know, where we hanging out and what we doing. We can't really disclose, but it's definitely a 15-year-old's dream.
I lived with Sean Puffy Combs for a year.
That's the crazy thing. Now, that was L.A. Reid's idea, right? We're sending you over to something called Puffy Flavor Camp.
There you go.
To learn
Flavor Camp?
Yeah,
Flavor
that's
Camp.
what it was called. And you're going to go to Puff Daddy's. He's going
in the 90s. Do you understand what that's like?
Puffy's place was like just filled with chicks and orgying like nonstop, right?
No, not really.
Come on.
But hey, it was curious. I got a chance to see some things.
Yeah, but you were 13. What were you seeing?
I went there to see the lifestyle.
Right.
And I saw it. And it was, but I don't know if I could indulge and understand what I was even looking at. It was pretty wild.
So nobody tried to, some woman didn't come along.
I didn't say that.
Okay.
I didn't say that. What I did say is that there were very curious things taking place. And I didn't necessarily understand it.
All of these big deviants is all catching hell in 2024. It's up for all of them. It don't matter if you Diddy or whoever you is. P. Diddy be wanting the body. And you gotta tell him no. You got to tell him no. I did. I did. See, I got the receipts for everything I'm telling you. That's why I can say them so freely.
I am lucky to be joined right now by the human Wikipedia of the hip-hop world. DJ Vlad is the creator and CEO of the Vlad TV YouTube channel, where he keeps his more than 5 million subscribers up to date on the latest in hip-hop and sports entertainment. He lands all the exclusive interviews, and he breaks all the big headlines. I could not wait, Vlad, to get your take on everything that's going on. What are your thoughts?
I mean, at the end of the day, he hasn't been charged with anything. I mean, the raids make it look a certain type of way. And of course, there's going to be the social media pylon like you always have. But until he's actually charged and we see what he's in for, it's really a waiting game. And unlike an R. Kelly or a Keefe D, Diddy's sitting on hundreds of millions of dollars. He's going to have the absolute best defense. He's going to be able to protect himself. If there's a bail, he's going to be able to make bail. He's going to be able to put a bond, et cetera. So it's going to be a very different situation with Diddy.
What about, I just hear crickets, right? I'm looking for all the people who are defenders coming out to say something on his behalf, and I'm not hearing anything. What are you hearing?
I mean, people are being relatively quiet. I mean, because it looks bad from the outside looking in. And, of course, you have the memes and everything else like that. You have, no Diddy is sort of like the new slang now. They used to say no homo. Now they're saying no Diddy. It's a very homophobic term, but this is kind of what it's coming into. They're calling him the diddler and so forth. So there's always going to be jokes. There's always going to be laughs and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, he is a very impactful person. He did help a lot of people. And I think you slowly are going to start seeing people come forward. But right now, everyone's sort of sitting back and seeing what happens because you don't know what the charges are. He hasn't been arrested yet. So you really don't know.
So 50 Cent said what he said today. No, did he do it? It's did he done. That was big. Also, what Kanye had said earlier, he straight up called him a Fed. And I'm guessing that meant that he's been cutting deals with law enforcement for a long, long time to stay out of the big house. What is your take on what Kanye, I mean, we had to bleep out a lot of what was said, but what's your take on that?
I mean, people have been calling me the Feds for 16 years now. People think that I work with law enforcement. And that's really just kind of a general hip hop kind of insult that somebody you don't like, they're the Feds or they're the police and so forth. I've never heard of Diddy actually working with the Feds or getting people busted or anything else like that. So, and Kanye's, also had a history of erratic behavior, especially during that time. The interview that you played, which was on Drink Champs, was when he was making the anti-Semitic statements about Adidas, and ultimately he lost his Adidas deal. So you kind of have a person who's ranting and manic, saying whatever's coming out. Yeah, so you can't really say, Kanye really had this information because, like I said, look at Kanye during that era. It was a train wreck. He lost $1 billion. How
about Diddy's kids, the two sons who were Justin and King, who were handcuffed outside of the mansion? Do you see them as part of the targeting, or was that they didn't know who they were? They detained anybody? Is it a power play so that the feds can see we got your kids in handcuffs? You better talk. What do you make of it?
I think during a situation like that, a lot of people will just get arrested just for being on the premises. I haven't actually seen the paperwork behind what's happening, so it's hard to say. But from what I understand, I haven't heard of the kids being charged with anything. So the fact that they were handcuffed and detained might have just been a horse and pony show. It's hard to really jump to conclusions and say this is what's going to happen, this is not what's going to happen until you actually see the paperwork and see how it plays out. And this will probably take years to actually work its way out. I doubt that he's just going to turn over.
Vlad, I thought we were going to see an indictment today, given the firepower from yesterday, right? Like, you don't go in guns blazing like that till you've got a lot more than just probable cause. You interviewed Diddy 10 years ago about his legacy. I want to play a quick soundbite of that. Take a look.
I feel that you're someone that's not only concerned with what's happening right now, but with your legacy as well. What is the legacy that you're looking to leave behind?
That I changed the world and I have fun doing it.
Okay, Vlad, I need to ask you when we come back after the break, if you think Diddy is headed the way of R. Kelly or Michael Jackson, or if he might actually be able to rehabilitate like Johnny Depp or Robert Downey Jr. Vlad's going to be right back with that answer after the break. I'm back live now with DJ Vlad, who is the creator and CEO of Vlad TV, and basically the king of all knowledge when it comes to leaders in journalism covering the hip hop industry. And that's not hyperbole. I mean, you really are sort of the North Star when it comes to being in the know, which is why I wanted to have you on tonight. Generally speaking, where are we? I'm confused as to why there'd be this extraordinarily public dual raid and conversations that Diddy was having with authorities, as his lawyers say, and there's no indictment today. Where are we and what do you see happening?
I mean, it's hard to say. I mean, when it comes to law enforcement, it's really run by the media. I have, actual security guards who are, for example, NYPD, and they tell me that every morning the lieutenant comes in, looks at the front page newspaper, sees what the media is covering, and then they'll go after those cases. The more high profile, the better. So obviously Diddy's been extremely high profile for the last few months, from the Cassie lawsuits to the 5 other lawsuits he's dealing with the Jane Doe here, with the man here, with all types of details in the Cassie lawsuit that everyone got to see. So obviously law enforcement is
that's the same thing, right? That's the same thing that happened to R. Kelly.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly.
It started with lawsuits, right? And then these people who filed lawsuits against R. Kelly, the feds got involved and they actually, put them under subpoena and they got testimony and they found evidence. So the word that we're getting is that they're using the same blueprint. So are you, And the other question I want to ask you about is people like Meek Mill, who are so close to Diddy. Will there be any, and you're smiling, so what are the consequences here? What's the involvement? What's the potential for people like Meek?
Yeah, I mean, Meek Mill got dragged into that lawsuit. He was named as one of the people in the lawsuit, along with, I believe, some gay allegations. And then, you start to see all these old pictures. There's like a picture of Meek Mill and Diddy wearing matching outfits, which looks a little crazy. And Meek Mill went on a whole, Twitter tirade saying that he's into women, he doesn't like men. So, but a lawsuit can be filed by anybody and essentially say anything. And yes, with the R. Kelly case, there was a bunch of civil lawsuits, but let's not forget what really triggered it was Surviving R. Kelly. It was an extremely popular documentary that was aired. There was even a part 2 that was made. And, essentially, it didn't seem like anything new really happened from the time of his first criminal case that he ended up beating to when he actually got convicted, except for there was just way more media attention. And ultimately, when you have a lot of negative media attention, this is what happens. And this is, you first start with the civil suits and it leads into criminal situations sometimes. You've seen it with R. Kelly.
And important to say, it can also unearth a lot of evidence and witnesses who testify under oath. So it's not just that the feds love the media. It can really yield some results. Another quick question about the Locks and Mace. They've complained that, about Diddy's business relationship with them. They said they've been exploited. Are people like the Locks and Mace and others who've been, say, blacklisted? I know you've tweeted about that in the past. Are they going to now pile on and open up the floodgates for whatever they've witnessed at any of the fun and party and games that they've been a part of since the 90s?
Yeah, I mean, you've always heard a lot of stories, but at the end of the day, blacklisting gets thrown around as such a haphazard matter. And a lot of times it's a person's lack of talent or their lack of hard work to actually achieve what they want in their career. And it's easy to point the finger at someone and say, oh, well, I'm not successful because I got blacklisted, because I got, some shadowy figures are making sure that I'm not successful. But you've seen time and time again in entertainment, if someone's really, truly talented, no matter what they go through, they can come back and still do well. Like, for example, Kanye West has the #1 song in the country right now after doing a bunch of outrageous behavior and losing essentially every corporate deal, only to come back and have an independent album to go #1, right? I mean, the song is #1. He's only had about 2 other #1s in his career, and this is with huge labels behind him, Universal Records pushing him, multi-million-dollar videos, et cetera, et cetera. He's doing all this on his own, and he has a #1 record because ultimately there's a talent level behind it. So a lot of times...
Which is why, I was just going to say, which is why we're so curious about what the legacy of Diddy's going to be. I'm flat out of time, but can you come back? Because I just sense we're at the tip of the iceberg here, and I know there's a lot still to come, and I would love to get your reflections as things develop. DJ Vlad, thank you so much for this.
Thank you for having me.
And for the great work you do as well. Just a terrific journalist. Still to come, the various methods that Ruby Franke used to torture her own kids, as told by Ruby Franke herself. If she never hoped that anybody would read her personal diary, she was sadly mistaken, because I'm reading it next, live on TV. Don't go away.
Works fast and lasts a full 24 hours, so Dave can be the
deliverer of dance.
Okay, Dave. Let's be more than our allergies. Z's the day with Zyrtec.
If these were the words of a church or a cult, would you consider joining? Or would you inch your way silently out of the back of the room? Here goes. If you can engage a weak-minded soul in a physical activity of obedience, you can begin to break the bonds Satan made with the weak. Ugh. The ruthless leader who lived by that rule did not give her followers a choice, because those followers were her own little kids, trapped in a cycle of daily abuse that resulted in frightening weight loss and open sores under that duct tape. These were the words of Ruby Franke in her own diary, a parenting influencer. Yay. She probably figured that diary would stay private, but instead it became evidence in her child abuse convictions. And that passage that I just read to you, that was the tamest thing. Much of the journal actually details the methods of soul-crushing abuse that she perpetrated against her 9-year-old daughter and her 12-year-old son. Evidence that has just been made very, very public. Evidence like the rescue of that little boy, emaciated and wounded and riding in the back of an ambulance after escaping to safety.
How did you get the ropes on you? Who did them? You're not in trouble with me, okay? We're just trying to figure out what's going on. Our main focus right now is you, okay?
The reason you hear beeps is because he's a minor. You know, he's 12. Can't see his face either because he's a minor. But Ruby's handwritten journal's right there. 60 pages worth. Detailed punishments like denying her children food for days on end. Not just a little, not just skipping dinner, days without food. She described holding their heads underwater and then locking them outside in the blazing summer heat and repeatedly claiming that the devil had possessed them. Officials have put black marks all over these documents. They've redacted the kids' names, identifying Frankie's daughter as E and then her son as R. And let me just tell you a couple things here. On June 30th of last year, that's 2 months before those kids were rescued, by the way, R, that's the son, apparently refused to do the wall sits that she had as punishment. And then the next day, he faced an even harsher treatment. This is what Frankie writes. R is to stay outside, sleep outside, only allowed to come inside to use the bathroom and shower. It is a type of punishment that she details again on July 11th. Now it's the midsummer heat, okay? And she writes this. R was told to stand in the sun with his sun hat. He is defiant. No. I tell him a couple more times. R, or should I say his demon, stays in the shade. I push R into the sun. R comes back. I come back with a cactus poker. When I poke his back to get in the sun, R doesn't even flinch. I poke him on the neck. He is in a trance and doesn't appear to feel anything. That same day, Frankie's daughter, also faces her mother's wrath. Same day, but this time Ruby wrote about her guru and her co-conspirator, Jody Hildebrandt, while she was writing. So take a listen to this. Big day for evil. E, that's the daughter, she's 9, manipulates me. She won't scream when Jody is around, but with me, she wails. All night, E screamed, cried, would hit her head on the tile floor. Today, Jody confronted her. E admits putting on a show for her mother. E says she wants to be pitiful. 3 days later, Ruby reminds her young daughter what would happen if she kept up. I reminded her, E, that if she whined, cried, or squinted her eyes at me, or soured her face, I would be buzzing her hair. If she's going to act sick, she can look sick. And now we know that is exactly how first responders found that poor little girl. Right there. Head shaved and terrified and sitting silently in a closet on the hardwood floor. Ruby Frankie's journal. Still to come, she captured our hearts with her cross-country travels in a white transit van until one day she vanished with no explanation. And when her boyfriend, Brian Laundrie, refused to cough up details, the world stopped down for Gabby Petito. Now a new documentary reveals just how controlling and abusive Brian was before they even hit the road. That's next.
DC's definitive source for nonpartisan political news, combined with America's fastest growing cable news network.
Hello and welcome to The Hill.
News Nation's The Hill, now at a new time. Weeknights at 6/5 Central.
We are following two major breaking news events.
Don't miss News Nation's The Hill. Weeknights at 6/5 Central on News Nation.
This is fluid, this is historic, and we'll take you through it.
And to find News Nation on your screen, go to joinnn.com.
Only 1 in 5 people with autism are employed, despite many having the skill set and desire to work.
Maybe it's because employers don't know what kind of jobs they can do. Like, what about a programmer?
That's a job for someone with autism.
How about a healthcare worker?
Yep, that is too. People with autism can do a lot of different jobs, but often get overlooked due to outdated stigmas. Introducing WIN by Autism Speaks. We help businesses lead the way in inclusive hiring.
What about a ranch hand?
To learn more, go to autismspeaks.org/win.
As an organ donor, your story doesn't have to end. The good in you can live on. In fact, you could save up to 8 lives and restore sight and health for many more. Sign up right now online as an organ, eye, and tissue donor. You'll be happy you did. And just maybe, someone else will be happy too. Go to organdonor.gov. It saves lives. U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Health Resources and Services Administration.
Retirement can be scary, but only if you're not prepared. That's why AARP created thisispretirement.org. Because unless you've already retired, you're in pretirement, and you still have time to plan. Learn about retirement savings options, potential tax breaks, and how you can build savings over time. Visit thisispretirement.org for free resources to help you customize your action plan and feel the retirement fear disappear. Brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
Life is full of moments, including difficult and disruptive ones like a cancer diagnosis, which is why the groundbreaking work of Stand Up to Cancer is so vital. They bring together top minds from different fields to find new and better treatments so patients can thrive. Please join Stand Up to Cancer and Myrtle Beach to help families get back to where they belong, making new memories for years to come. Go to standuptocancer.org to see how you can join the mission.
Substance use disorder and addiction is so isolating. And so, as a Black woman in recovery, hope must be loud. It grows louder when you ask for help and you're vulnerable. It is the thread that lets you know that no matter what happens, you will be okay.
When we learn the power of hope, recovery is possible. Find out how at startwithhope.com. Brought to you by the National Council for Mental Wellbeing, Shatterproof, and the Ad Council.
Thanks for listening to News Nation on the go. I'm Ashleigh Banfield, and this is America's source for engaging and unbiased news.
At First Tee, we are building game changers. We believe all kids deserve to feel excited to grow, safe to fail, and better equipped for whatever comes at them next. We do this by helping them develop their golf swing, but more importantly, their inner strength. First Tee coaches help young people ages 7 to 18 navigate the course, as well as guide them through new challenges in life. Because we know what's inside doesn't just count, it changes the game. Learn more at firsttee.org.
You can't escape a traffic jam. Know what else you can't escape? Seasonal allergies. And you might think you can avoid that coffee stain until... Oh, really? You can't escape a lot of things in life, but you can escape prediabetes. Prediabetes captures 1 in 3 adults. There are usually no signs of prediabetes. In fact, most people don't even know they have it. But with early diagnosis, you can change the outcome and prevent or delay type 2 diabetes. Take action by taking the 1-minute risk test at doihaveprediabetes.org. You might not be able to escape having this song stuck in your head, but you can escape prediabetes. Go to doihaveprediabetes.org today. Brought to you by the Ad Council and the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention.
It seemed the whole country knew her name, even though few of us had ever even met her. Gabby Petito had a natural joy that radiated from her pictures. And we followed her across the country in that signature white transit van. She and her fiancé were on the trip of a lifetime, but little did we know how short her lifetime would be. Brian Laundrie killed her on that trip and then tried to pretend like it never happened. And only now are we really learning just how controlling and abusive he was before they left on that trip. Tonight on the CW, the docuseries Crime Nation revealed in exclusive interviews just how possessive Brian Laundrie was over Gabby, even when she was with her girlfriends.
Whenever there's an issue with Brian, she'll go over there.
It's okay. It's fine. I have the video of her breaking into my room because she locked us out. She fell in the bush a little bit, but we managed to get in. It was great. She got dirt all over my bed. It was fantastic.
Brian is already a jealous guy. So the fact that she has this close friend and they're sleeping in the same bed on nights when Gabby and Brian fight, it drives him bananas, drives him crazy. He insists on picking her up from Rose's place instead of letting Rose drive her home. He is very, very territorial and competitive with Rose.
Gabby's lifeless body was found back in 2021, just 2 months into that cross-country trip. Brian later admitted in his journal that he took her life, and then he killed himself in the months that followed. In Gabby's name, Florida now has enacted legislation for police to be able to ask more detailed questions when responding to domestic violence calls. It's the Gabby Petito Act. That is all the time I have for tonight. Thank you, everyone, for joining me. Stay tuned. Cuomo's next.
Hey, I'm Chris Cuomo, and a couple of things just keep getting crazier, so let's get after it. Today, megastar Sean Combs' private jet intercepted by the feds in Miami. His alleged drug mule arrested. Now, we already know the billionaire mogul had 2 of his homes raided in broad daylight Monday. Homeland Security investigators, FBI, fully kitted out. Look at them. I mean, this was like a cartel bust. The allegation: Combs may be connected to a drug, gun, and